This is our video blog for April 1st, 2011, and like most days we really want to buy the strongest pairs versus the weakest. Yesterday the euro was very strong, but today it was weak. The yen was weak yesterday, and it continued its weakness again from 3 to really about now. So you want to find the currencies that are strongest to trade against the weakest yen. The CAD was very strong. The pound, for up until about 7 showed a lot of strength other than this 1 hour pullback here. The Australian was strong, and the New Zealand was strong. So you can buy any of those against the weakest pair, which is the yen, on any sideways consolidation or pullback. We'll start with the pound earlier today. Before midnight, you can see the pound was strong. I'm sorry, this is a pound dollar. I need to put the pound yen on. Yeah, that's better. Strong pound, weak yen. It broke out over yesterday's high right here. And usually, this is a very high probability trade. Anytime you get a breakout that then on the pullback doesn't go back underneath previous day's high, in other words, is not a false breakout. There's a lot of false breakouts. You can see yesterday. Broke out, and then came back down. Broke out, came back down, and then the trend reversed. When they break out and stay above the previous day's high, that's really a good sign of strength. You might have bought that little pullback right here. And you can see it went up to the monthly midpoint right here, and that's a decent place to get out because there's not a whole lot of statistical strength. And anytime a currency is trending up, is strong, and just has a nice little sideways rectangle pattern for an hour to 3 hours, it's usually a good trade. So when it broke out right here, that was a good trade. Counter trend sell signal right here, and you give it every opportunity to go up, but it doesn't. You keep yanking your stops up, and you get stopped out. Pulls back and doesn't go underneath this previous swing. And so when it starts going back up, this will be another good place to get in. Comes up to the swing high and kind of stalls. You get out of your trade there. Because most of the time markets double top. The upper containment band's way up here though, so we do have a lot of potential upside on this. Fibonacci profit target I drew yesterday, monthly pivot level, and the previous month's high, which is it obviously broke through that, but that would have been the likely maximum high. So when it broke out again, and started going up and went sideways, and you bought this pullback right here, and it finally made newer highs. You just hang with that trade up until about here. That's where I would have probably got out of the trade, and I wouldn't have bought this next pullback, even though it did work. Let's look at the Australian yen. Again, very strong Australian, weak yen. It also broke out. It came up to the previous day's high, and for 2 or 3 hours, banged against it, and then it finally broke out. So a good place to get in. It's going sideways, you yank your stop underneath the lows here, goes up again, goes sideways, put your stop here. And usually, markets don't go up forever. You draw your fibs on that, and somewhere up here in the fib target, great place to get out. And this is a good example of an Elliott two-wave pullback. Anytime you have a strong trend on the first pullback, anything at more than 20-25 pips, draw your fibs on there, and somewhere between the first and second fib target. This is our Elliott two-wave pullback trade. You don't just buy at this fib level, but if it stalls there and goes sideways and then breaks out, you can see our IntelliTrend bars go green right here, you're in, and it just kind of goes up and goes sideways. You yank your stop underneath the sideways consolidation, and it goes up again, goes sideways, you yank your stop up. And normally I look to get out near these fib levels, but it just exploded through there. So I probably would have got out at least half the trade here, because a lot of times they overshoot a little bit and then come crashing down. And you put your second half of your position stop right here, and this thing's gone up. It's usually the trend is going to end pretty soon. Here's the next fib target, both the one I did last night and the fib target off this last wave. That's where I would have got out of the last part of that trade. Very strong Australian today and weak yen, and that's why I did it. Same thing here with this one. This is the worst of all the trades because we have a Fibonacci retracement level here. So you might have got into this trade right here and got out of your trade here. I wouldn't have bought this pullback here because this is a very strong area of selling, and once it finally broke through there and then retested here, this is a pretty decent place to buy right here around 63.95. Your next profit target's all the way up here. Kind of runs out of steam there. I probably would have got out of the whole trade there myself, but the smart thing to do is at resistance, get out of half, move your stop up underneath that level, and then if it takes off again, draw your fib on this last wave, and if it shoots through the first 1.382 fib level, get out the 1.618, which would have nailed pretty much all the pips, except for 2 hours later it went 5 or 10 pips above that. The currency meter really makes it easy to focus on the best pairs. The best one, which I haven't even showed you, was the CAD. CAD was just explosive today, and you can see that here. Broke out last night above the previous day's high and the day before's high, which you can see the new day starts at 5 o'clock, or actually I think it's 6 now. So this was the previous day's high. It broke out over a 2-day high, so that's the highest high in the last 3 days, and it just took off. You might have got out of your trade here when it broke the trend line going up. This one also kind of made a 2-wave pullback. It didn't quite go to the fib level, and it was one of the strongest pairs. If you bought here, it came up to this resistance area here and went sideways, I would have got out of that trade. Anytime a resistance area gets hit and there's no pullback and it breaks above it, everyone who sold that level is all obviously losing money, and that's what caused this explosive move here. Notice after 7 o'clock here, if you look at the currency meter, just explosive strength in this one, weakness here. It's without a doubt the best and most aggressive currency to buy.